Hello everyone, welcome back for episode 2. Great to have you with me and looking forward to chatting more about some of the intricacies that we come across founding a high-moving, fast-paced growth marketing agency. This week, Anton and myself have been lucky enough to welcome a really cool array of new clients to the team across different sectors, from fashion, lifestyle, travel, and we're kind of really excited about these new clients coming in, fresh blood for the team. It always makes everything exciting when there's new challenges amongst us and kind of new targets to smash, essentially. So yeah, we're really excited about that. But what I want to talk to you more about today is kind of what comes with that. And what does come with that is a week of tough decision making. Both Anton and myself have been racking our brains. We're lucky enough to welcome new clients to the table and really pleased about that. But ultimately, now we need to make sure we can service them as well as we possibly can. We're lucky enough to have a wicked team that work across various platforms and serious amount of expertise. But now that we're welcoming on new clients and it's on a more regular basis, we're thinking about scaling the team and how we can best do that. Now, I'm sure there's many founders that are going to watch this and think like, oh yeah, I've been through this journey, and they can probably really relate. And there will also be people out there that are about to go on this journey about being a founder and want to hear about some of the challenges and things that make it difficult, as a founder. What I'm going to jump into today is the topic of decision paralysis and iterative decision making. Now, as a founder, we get into this mindset, this mentality where this decision is so important that we want to do everything we can to get it right, which is great. But that often can lead into a decision paralysis phase where we end up dragging out decision making because it's hard to make the right choice, right? You can analyze forever. There's ultimately an infinite amount of circumstances that you can consider, things you can take into account, previous experiences you can learn from, scars from previous bad decisions, which I will talk about in another video. But for today, we're going to focus around this kind of iterative mindset to decision making. As a founder, I typically see every decision I make kind of subconsciously as this could be the last decision I make. I put that much emphasis on each decision when the reality is we need to become more comfortable with the fact that this is a decision I need to make, but it's not necessarily the decision I need to make, because after this decision, there'll be another one, there'll be another one, there'll be another one. And it's going to be impossible to get all the decisions right all of the time. So what I want to address today is this kind of concept of not getting hung up with it on a decision, more so considered. Every decision should be considered 100%, not saying recklessly say yes or no, but getting hung up on it is the challenge. I want founders to move to a more kind of iterative mindset towards decision making. And what makes an iterative mindset to decision making so special is the fact that you don't only make the decision quicker, because that is also really important, but after the decision is made, you also have to take time to learn from the decision. And that's what's different about this kind of iterative mindset. Because if we don't have an iterative mindset to decision making, we fall off the track from kind of two perspectives. One, we typically spend more time than we should to make decisions that don't necessarily need that much time. And most importantly, two, we don't learn from them because we don't see it as an iterative process. We see a decision as a situation in isolation that we handle and move on. And it's actually something that me as a founder, both Anton and I, we really believe in this, because we know that actually taking the chance to learn where we can is what's going to separate us from the competition, going to help us build this business quicker, ultimately going to help us make less mistakes as we grow, which is critical, especially when you start to kind of pick up the rate of growth and move into this kind of scale-up phase that we're entering now with Nova Plus. So what I've noticed from researching, reading about, from watching a lot of videos, it is firms rarely look back on decision-making because they do treat it in isolation. So a firm will take a decision. I'm going to focus around hiring because that's kind of what we're talking about on the day-to-day. So I'll use that as an example. But a firm will typically hire a new member of the team. At the moment, they take the decision. They'll say, great, made this hire, taken the decision, and they're going to join the team. Now, typically what happens is the new hire will join, 2, 3, 4, 5 months will go on, and the founders are happy with the member joining the team or not happy for whatever reason. But they will actually fail to look back on the decision-making process and say, did we make the right decision? How could that decision could have been better? What was good about the decision we made? What was bad about the decision we made? And the reality is that there's a lot of learning in those questions after a decision has been made that typically most firms kind of forego by not dedicating even the smallest amount of time, 5, 10 minutes, a 15-minute meeting scheduled in the diary, just to talk about the decision-making process and the learnings that you've got from that. Now, we're starting to build in, Anton and myself, as founders into Nova, this kind of retrospective idea around decision-making where, okay, decisions need to be made in a considered manner, in a timely manner, but also the third part, which is post-decision, and have some reflection in there as well. We've made so many decisions and so many wrong decisions, as I'm sure many of the founders watching this will also be able to relate to. But until recently, I've also kind of struggled to learn from them because just, it was a bad choice. Let's crack on. We're unlucky. We'll make a better decision next time. But the reality is that will never improve if you don't take a structured approach to looking back. To kind of put it into a context, which I know I often talk about a lot and probably don't do enough of, is gym. But this kind of, I guess, scenario kind of helps conceptualize the concept of iterative and retrospective learning towards decision making. You wake up in the morning, gym's part of your routine. You say to yourself, oh, geez, I could stay in bed an extra half an hour. I could just laze around or, take a slower start and skip the gym today. Feeling that I'm sure most of you have felt, even the people that are super dedicated to the gym, everyone feels it sometimes, right? And that can kind of relate to the decision-making process, the back and forth. Then you take the decision, you say, I'm going to go to the gym, right? You go to the gym, you've taken the decision. You have a good workout, everything goes well, smooth process. And then after the gym, you very rarely just immediately forget about the gym, right? You look back, you think about how you performed in the gym, you think about how you feel after the gym. Most of the time it's like, I feel so good. I'm so glad that I pushed through and did that because of the endorphins that get released and because of the fact you actually have done something for yourself. There's a huge amount of benefits there. But actually, that moment after the gym where you look back and you feel satisfied, you feel that you've learned and gained from your time in the gym, that's this retrospective element that I really want founders and managers and even people starting out their career to think about, because that's ultimately, in my opinion, where you learn. And in the business world, people typically forget about that phase. They will assess, analyze, prepare. They will take a decision. Those things people often do very well. Although decision making does typically in organizations, and especially as you get bigger, because of bureaucracy and all the dynamics that are involved, take longer than they should. But the learning part is typically missed out. And it's a massive problem from small companies to big companies that ultimately they're missing out on free learning. That mindset that you take, look back and speak to your team, speak to the people that are involved in decision making. Was it a good decision? Was it a bad decision? That's where the learning can be. So this concept of iterative decision making and retrospective learning will help you capitalize on experiences and separate you from the competition, because I'm sure your competitors are not out there doing what you're doing. So take the chance that you have to put your foot first. Simple. Schedule 5 minutes after a key decision. Obviously give it some time to filter through, but make sure you pencil it in from the moment the decision was made. That timeline can vary. Could be after 1 week, could be after 1 month, but make sure you pencil in that time. Note down some learnings, because those free learnings are going to change the game for your business, and they're going to make sure the decisions you make, although they might not always be perfect or might not always be the right decision, your ability to make the right decision or closer to the right decision will only ever get better and better the more you learn from your decision-making process. So be wise, make the most of this opportunity. It doesn't cost anything, doesn't take much time. It's an extremely valuable way of learning, an extremely valuable way to help you grow your business as fast as possible. That's all for today, but we're going to touch on more and more of these topics and contexts as they come up throughout the different phases and times that we go through with Nova Plus. I'm about to get back to work and finish off some decision making as we're talking on the topic, but looking forward to tuning in for episode 3, and stay tuned.